Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump will both be in central North Carolina tomorrow.
The candidates are hoping to sway undecided voters or those who haven't voted yet. CBS 17's Judith Ratana is live in Raleigh with whether these last-ditch efforts are going to make a difference to voters. Judith.
Rod and Angela, more than 3 million North Carolinians have already locked in their votes. With several visits from former President Trump and Vice President Harris in recent weeks, it's clear that both candidates see the state as critical to win. There are narrow margins here, but voters we spoke to today say they don't view these visits as critical in how they choose to vote. More than 40% of registered North Carolina voters have cast their ballot in the 2024 election. In the lead up to November 5th, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump hope they can sway those voters who've yet to vote with rallies this week.
I think it's good that they come and that they can state their case in front of people and it gets in the local news. I think that's important, but it didn't affect my vote.
Chris Malloy says he doesn't put much weight into these visits and did his own research before voting early. He says voting here is easier than his home state of Indiana, where some counties have just one early voting site.
Only one.
Wow.
It's a much more of a hassle than it is here.
Aside from convenience, he locked in his vote a week before Election Day to avoid any last-minute hiccups.
You don't want to be at the end of the day on the 5th and go, I'm tired, or I don't feel good, or the kids need to be picked up and missed the vote.
Even earlier was David Wickler, who casted his ballot on day one of early voting.
It made me feel even more special about doing it, being in line for like an hour and, talking to people, doing a little research about the city council elections that I hadn't really gotten up on.
Voting early was also about easing election season anxiety.
I figured once I got my vote in, I could ease off a little bit of the doom scrolling online, checking the polls, and just feel like I've done everything I could.
Democratic, Republican, and unaffiliated voters each make up about a third of voters so far. Those unaffiliated and undecided voters are who Harris and Trump are trying to lock in. Like the presidential candidates, voters here know the weight of every ballot.
We need every American to vote.
As far as those appearances tomorrow, former President Trump has announced he will be at the Rocky Mount Event Center. Vice President Harris will be at Coastal Credit Union at Walnut Creek here in Raleigh. Live in Raleigh, Judith Ratana, CBS 17 News.
All right, Judith, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
And so far, more than 3.1 billion ballots have been cast in North Carolina. That means nearly 40% of registered voters have already voted. Early voting remains open until Saturday.
Right.